2023 BMW M2 does exactly what a small M sports car should do best. Front-mounted engine, rear-wheel drive, and small enough to get into tight parking spots. In this video, I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about this new 2023 BMW M2. But first guys, take a look at this graph. Only 1% of viewers are subscribed. Like, come on, 99% of you are not subscribed. We are so close to getting this channel to 1,000 subscribers, and if that happens, I can start putting more money and production value into these videos. So quickly, subscribe now. I think there is only one real way to start off this review, and to sum it up with one word for the outside exterior, and that is boxy. Just look at it. Every corner is curved finer than the cheekbones on a cartoon bodybuilder's face. But let's get real and in depth about this. From the front, we have a more unique grille, with the lower half seeming like it's missing a protection grille, allowing us to see right through to the car's radiator. The headlights stem in a smiling-like fashion, followed round by 19 or 20-inch alloys. Hiding behind those is a whole new braking system. 6 piston calipers with 15-inch rotors live at the front, while the rear is riding single piston calipers with 14.6-inch discs. Round the back of the vehicle, believe it or not, most things are very similar to the 2016 to 2022 BMW M2s, still having that quad exhaust pipe system, portrait brake reflectors, and the brake lights, not having too much work done to them, just a slight upgrade of style if you ask me. The BMW badge, however, is smaller and sits slightly lower on the flicked up boot lid. Unique carbon roof has been kept on these colour designs, and optional extras such as carbon trim for the front, side and rear can be added at an extra cost. Jump inside the M2 and you'll see quality. In contrast to its boxy exterior that I just named, it's not a particular in-your-face exterior, more closely aligned with what you expect to find in a comfy, motorway-friendly BMW, rather than this wheel-spinning monster. Despite this, there are plenty of little reminders that this is truly an M car, with various badges and splashes of the M Trio colour all over the place. Including the thick-rimmed steering wheel, there are only quality materials to be found around this exterior. So even if it looks a bit unexciting, it feels suitably premium. One thing that does jump out to me straight away is the twin screen setup, with a 12.3-inch driver's display and a 14.9-inch information system running the latest BMW tech. This means you can get quick setup responses, high-end graphics, and with the more better voice control systems compared to other modern cars. You also get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard to stream your music and take advantage of your various map apps. However, there are now a bunch of M-specific apps, such as lap timing and a drift analyzer that will rate your attempts to recreate the Stig's Top Gear highlight reel. Although, obviously, only try this on a track or private land. Don't think the Popo will be too happy with this on public roads. Space in the front is pretty good, with decent adjustability of the seats, making it easy to find comfortable driving position. You sit fairly low, but you still have a great view of the road ahead of you. You can raise your seats up pretty high if needed to as well. Regardless of the seating position, you'll feel and see this is high quality material, day in, day out. All the unusual cubby holes and door bins you would expect too, although this is a smaller M2, so it wouldn't be as big, say compared to an M4 or M5. Those who have got to ride in the back seats, yeah, you don't have as much space as you thought. The seats are comfortable, and there's some M stitching on the belts to remind you this is no regular 2 Series. But it's not hugely spacious, and as I like to say, compared to the trusted space in the back of an Audi TT, the room is better than that. However, taller passengers might find their hairline brushing the roof, but generally speaking, a couple adults should be comfortable enough for shorter distances. Just prepare yourselves for some travelling rotations if you're with a group of people over 6 foot, as longer journeys may become uncomfortable. An Audi RS3 would be a better option if you're regularly carrying passengers, because it's a bit more spacious and you can access through the rear doors. But the M2 doesn't, because it only has 2 doors. Open the boot and you're presented with this huge 390 litre space, which is exactly the same as the rest of the 2 Series range, meaning there's no performance or enhancements needed in this car to reduce the boot space. Comparing this to the Audi RS3 Sportback, which only has 281 litres in the boot, that is over 100 litres less. And this is because the all-wheel drive system eats up so much of that storage space. Even upgrading to a saloon RS3, you'll get an extra 40 litres for sure, but you're still 70 litres less than a BMW M2. The Mercedes-AMG A45 is more closer, with around 370 litres, but still 40 litres less. If you really want to beat this BMW M2, you'll have to go all the way for a CLA 45, which gets 460 litres in the boot. The M2's new turbocharged 3-litre inline-6 is borrowed from its older brothers and sisters, offering a loud 453 brake horsepower. This is almost 50 horsepower more than the previous M2 competition models, pushing 406 pound-feet of torque. Customers have the option for a 6-speed manual transmission or the upgrade to the awesome 8-speed automatic transmission. The good news is that the M2 packs an absolute wallop. Even something as menacing as the acceleration from a red light just gives you that excitement that you feel in a sports car. The M2, when performing its 0 to 62 miles an hour, happens to sit at around 3.9 seconds. That's with the 8-speed automatic transmission, or just over the 4-second mark at 4.1 seconds with the manual transmission. And that estimate also feels kind of modest, people have said, maybe to not offend the new BMW M4, which, to find out more, you can click in the top right-hand corner now. The weight of this new M2 is rather on the heavy side, coming in at 1,730 kg, which is 3,814 pounds at a curb weight. Now yes, that is heavy just for a two-door. The 6-cylinder has a furious fire-up, with its tiny amount of turbo lag, but tons of torque otherwise and lots of power at the top end. The burbly exhaust notes are awesome, but still not as great as the previous M2 generation, in my opinion. How about you tell me which one sounds better in the comments below? The steering has a nice weight to it and feels really precious, so you're confident in putting the front end of this car where you want it. When it's in stiffer suspension, the body bracing, you might expect the M2 to hop, skip and jump its way around town. With the adaptive dampeners on this new M2, as standard, you can select the comfort mode, which softens things up. Do this and your car deals with road bumps and potholes very well, compared to the previous M2 where this option wasn't available. If comfort is your priority, you'd probably be better off with a regular 2 Series. But if you want a fast feel and a throwback in your seat while you're popping around town, well, you have to worry no more. It's in town that the automatic gearbox is better too. Its least aggressive setting is switched between gears with less fuss and helps you relax in traffic. So, what about driving on the motorway? Being a relatively small, sporty car, the sporty suspension setup this M2 has is not built for long motorway driving. However, put its comfiest drive mode, and again, it's perfectly acceptable for daily routines. Perhaps the only complaint we have here is the grippy tyres and large alloy wheels, meaning you will get quite a lot of road noise in the cabin of this car. However, the part that gets me is the upgrade to have cruise control, especially when you notice that it costs more than £1,000 as part of a package called Extra Driver Assistant Tech. But what about this M2? Is it really built for twisting roads? When the road starts to become windy, the M2 does come alive. Where the M3 and M4 may be a bit leery when you put your foot down, the M2 is much more composed with lots of grip so you can have confidence in pushing down round corners. Despite this feel, it's a bit more playful and fun compared to its larger siblings. Again, much of this is down to its low, less intimidating power output, which will be practically noticeable on tighter country roads for you English countryside drivers. Put the auto gearbox in it, and its most aggressive setting, you'll feel a noticeable jolt in your back when shifting up and down. However, if you wanted to opt for the manual gearbox and changing down a gear to keep the engine at its optimal level is advised, however, reporters still prefer the quick shifting auto over the extra involvement that comes from a manual gearbox. BMW have stolen this engine from the M3 and M4. However, if you want to get geeky with these stats, then around 50 brake horsepower and 100 Nm of torque is lost when put in this M2. The top speed is limited by BMW in the UK at 155 miles an hour. Ask them nicely to remove this and you'll see the top speed is 177 miles an hour. Or it can be already removed if you upgrade or have the M Drivers Pack. So suggested figures are to be at an average of 27 miles to the gallon with the mixed driving, which is very similar to its smaller brother and sister, the M240i. It has CO2 emissions of 231 grams per kilometre, which puts you into a second highest tax bracket for the first year of owning this vehicle, with extra premium 2s on top of your tax over regular tax, as this car is worth more than £40,000. Speaking of price, how much does this new BMW M2 cost? Well, prices start off at £64,890, with monthly payments being as low as £865. Similar cars in this price range are the Audi RS3, Porsche 718 Cayman, and Mercedes-AMG CLA 45S. Which leads me on to my 3 positives and negatives about this car. What's amazing about this car is, number 1, the steering feels lighter and more precise over previous generation M model cars. Number 2, the ability it can change between calm and comfort to throwing your back into your seat with raw power. Number 3, the inside of this M2 is very modern and keeps up with the latest car technology. And then this brings me over to my 3 negatives. Number 1, it's very heavy, especially for a small 2 Series style car. Number 2, rather pricey in my opinion for a small 2 Series style car. And number 3, the exterior boxy style just isn't for me, unfortunately, in my opinion. I personally do prefer the previous generation M Sport models. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you prefer these new boxy style of M Sport cars, or do you prefer the previous generation with those nice kind of curvy looks around the car?